Welcome, everyone. It's Friday. Oh, yes, it is. We made it. Hello. You don't have to fight it. Fight what exactly? Anything. You don't have to fight it. Because once you make the decision to do something, we make a decision based upon the way that we feel, the mental mood, the mental attitude. So you don't have to fight it. Once you make the decision, you'll follow through with it. Naturally. Once you make the decision, you will follow through with it. So if you say, oh, but these thoughts, Angela, I'm struggling with these thoughts. Every time you catch the thought or the mental mood that you're in, catch it. When you catch it, what do you want to replace it with? Replace it with that one. And that's what I mean when I say you don't have to fight. Right? Because when you struggle against something, because your attention is on it to struggle against it, it is now, depending on the intensity of it, because remember, rhythm compensates. So if this thing really irks you and you struggle against it, that's how intense the fight is, right? So we don't have to fight it and struggle against it. If you're having to deal with a particular mood that you don't want to be in, as soon as you recognize that you're in that mood, you switch to the mood you want to be in every single time. Remember the analogy of the baby and the stove. You're sitting on the floor and you're playing with the baby, and something catches the baby's eye. Stainless steel. And the baby's making his way towards that stove. So you're like, oh, hey, baby, come on, come back. And you pick up the baby and you put it back in front of the toys where you are. Okay? Every single time. Every time you catch the baby going towards that stainless steel stove, now what the baby's doing is not wrong. The baby's not bad. The baby's not naughty. You're just curious. So you go grab the baby. Come on, let's go. Let's play with these toys over here. Let's add a different dimension now to that analogy. Your phone rings. And so you answer the phone. You're talking to them. Hey, girl, how you doing? Blah, 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 blah. And the baby starts to move. You are caught up in the conversation. Baby starts to move towards the stove. What are you going to do? You drop the phone and freak out? No. You just put your earphones in and your hands are free. And you go get the baby. But if you'll notice, the baby almost made it to the stove because you and I were distracted answering the phone. What does that mean? It means that we get busy and caught up in living. And sometimes when these thoughts or mental moods, mental attitudes, mindsets, when they show up, remember ebb and flow, when we slip back into the old way, sometimes we're so caught up in living that we don't catch them. And the baby makes it to the stove, meaning it indulges with that old way of being. And that's all right. It just means you got to do it again. And the great news about this analogy is that the more you redirect the baby, you'll begin to notice the baby just stays with you now and plays with the toys. The baby stays where you put it. Oh, it may turn around and look, but only for a split second, because then it says, oh, I need to be over here. And it will stay where you put it. The reason why the analogy with the baby is so helpful is because babies are just curious by nature. There's no punishment involved with the baby. The baby just wants to know. The baby just wants to learn. The baby wants to understand. But sometimes, depending on what stage you're at, redirection is best. So every time you catch your mind wandering, especially to the place you say mentally you don't want to be, remember, catch it and redirect yourself to the mental attitude, the thoughts you want to have. Remember that it is always going to be the mental attitude that determines the thoughts, that determines the words, and that determine the actions. Always the mental attitude that dictates that. So when you're going through the day and you said to yourself, you reminded yourself, hey, I want to live in this fashion, I want to be like this. Okay, good. Then that's where you practice and keep your mind there. But during the ebb and flow and you slip from that place, you don't have to indulge in it. You don't have to get mad at it. That's why the analogy of the baby is so helpful, because it's a baby. It's just a little bitty baby, right? It's just a little itty bitty baby. No sense in getting angry, right? So you don't have to, quote unquote, fight the bad mood or fight the bad thoughts. No, you redirect yourself to where you want to be mentally. Over and over and over. And you know what? Based on the analogy, you know that eventually that baby stays where you put it. It does. So you and I get to remember that even though our mind wanders, it's all right, so long as you redirect it to where you want it to be. Well, think about it. There's no sense, none whatsoever, in being upset with yourself. What for? What for? You don't even know what you're doing. Are you doing that right? Blah, 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 blah. Why? Why don't you want to do that? Because then you're giving your attention. You've repolarized yourself. You've moved yourself from a state of calm and peace, and you've brought in agitation. And you and I both know that that's not exactly what you're looking for, because it has its own merit. It has its own way of showing up in the world that you don't want to participate in. Right? So remember, you don't have to fight and struggle. Just redirect. Did you hear that? You don't have to fight and struggle. Just redirect yourself. When you feel, because remember, it's the baby, when you feel the subtle movements of the mood, catch yourself. I don't want that mood. I want this one. And you polarize yourself towards that new mood. That's what you do. And you do it over and over and over and over again. Always, you see, you're not just practicing putting your mind somewhere and having it stay there. There's a deeper reason why. When you practice that, putting your mind where you want it to, what are you doing? You are disciplining the mind. But to what extent? You see, when we discipline our minds, when we say that we have the ability to redirect our thoughts at will, to focus on what matters at will, we change the atmosphere that we live in. See, we change the atmosphere that we live in. How do you change the atmosphere that you live in? Because you captured every single thing that was contrary and redirected yourself. So you did it mentally. I did it mentally. Make a Frank Sinatra that bad boy and do it my way. My way. My way. Let me stop. See how I can usher in a new way to do things. Oh, my word. So what are you going to do? You see, if you're going through the day and you're feeling a sense of overwhelm, catch it. Catch that overwhelm. And when you catch it, you say, hey, girl. Hey, bro. However it is you talk to yourself. You say, we're going to breathe. And you inhale through the nose, you exhale through the nose. Because you exhale through the mouth when you're exercising. You push more air out. But when you're trying to calm the body, why do you want to calm the body? Because when you calm the body, you can think. And when you can think, you can change the mood. Mm-hmm. Why? Because when you let the body stay in that heightened state of overwhelm, the chemical cocktails in the body begin to match it to confirm that you're overwhelmed. But you don't want to be overwhelmed. So what would you be doing now if you weren't? Well, you'd be breathing nice and steady, would you not? So begin to breathe nice and easy. In through the nose, out through the nose. Don't waste time. I'm calm. I'm peaceful. Don't waste time talking. Breathe. Why? Because when you keep the body in that gentle, focused state, you release the chemicals that calm you. That's what you do. And sooner rather than later, because you've redirected yourself numerous times, your body will naturally stay where you put it, which is in a state of calm. But remember the ebb and the flow. We can't hold the calm indefinitely. We cannot hold the overwhelm indefinitely. But what you can do is make a habit of being calm. Make a habit of being peaceful. How do you make a habit? By doing the same thing the same way every time. So when you feel the overwhelm, remember the baby going towards the stove. When you begin to feel it, you see, now tell yourself what you want to do. Hello? Tell yourself what you want to do. What do you mean, Angela? You tap yourself. You don't have to tap yourself, but I tap myself on the forehead and I say, hey, remember to do this. Remind me to do this. Whatever that thing is I need to remember, remind me to do that. And as I'm going along, when I need to remember it so I can do it, I feel this tap, tap, tap. Remember to do this. And then I do it. You know how you can tell yourself, get up at whatever time that is. Remember to take this out of the oven. Remember to do this. Remember to do that. Talk to yourself and tell yourself what to watch for. You put a guard at the gate so that when you encounter the thing, your body says, see, remember that? Remember that? And you say, oh, yes, that's right. And you do it. So if you say every day at 3 o'clock for 5 minutes, remind me to just sit still and experience in imagination what I would be doing in reality if I were the man or the woman I wanted to be. Remind me to do it every day at 3. Do you know that every day, you give it a couple of days, but every day going forward, just shy of 3 o'clock, 2:50, 2:55, you're going to get a reminder. Well, who's going to remind you? You're going to have the reminder. It just taps right into you. It says, hey, remember to do this. Naturally, that's what happens. You tell yourself, hey, anytime you feel that, let's replace it with this. Why? Because you are always watching and listening to yourself. That's what you're doing. So, you don't have to fight it. Tell yourself what you want to do, what mental attitude you want to habitually practice. So if you want to do it every 2 hours, that might be too much. It depends on you, though. You choose the time of day that you can commit to so that you don't have to postpone it and say, I'll do it later. No, you pick the time of day and how long you want to do it for. Why? Because you're making things easy for yourself. You're making it easy for yourself in that you don't have to fret, you don't have to fight, you don't have to push against, you don't have to resist. You don't have to do any of that. This is what I'm trying to say to you. You have the power to change. You do. You just have to apply it. How do we apply it? How do we apply our change? Well, you remember the 7 principles. Why is it important to remember the 7 principles? Because the 7 principles are not man-made, you understand. Sowing and reaping, sure, humanity sows and reaps because we gotta eat. So there's always gonna be a farmer, right? Reaping and sowing. But where did reaping and sowing come from? The result of reaping and sowing. Sowing and reaping. Where did that come from? That's not man-made. High tide and low tide is not man-made. It is man-observed. You're watching the ebb and the flow. You're watching the change of the seasons. You see the changes, the underlying smooth movement of creation is not man-made. You see, man can imitate it, though. You see, it rains not because I can make it rain, but it rains because the conditions are right. The ebb and the flow. When you pull back on the ebb until it is full, then the only other thing to do is to flow. The ebb and the flow are not man-made. And I know that some people would say, yeah, well, who made that? Well, if you observed them, you would know who made them. And you wouldn't have a name for it. You would just know that somebody bigger than you and I. Right? You'd know that something thought with such precision that it made the sun by day and the moon by night. It made winter, spring, summer, fall. It made the equator. Somebody thought, which would tell us, wow, how precise do you have to be to think in that fashion? See? So when you memorize the 7 principles, mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender, when you memorize those, you realize that all around us, success unfolds. There's no failure anywhere around us. It didn't fail to rain. The ebb was not full. Thus it did not rain, because the ebb was not full. It wasn't. There's no failure anywhere around us. If we would observe it, we'd see there is only success. So when you memorize those 7 principles and you know that there is only success, there is only that. Because you got to remember that success and failure are man-made words to describe a situation. We always have to describe what we experience on the inside. We see what we do on the outside. So you've got, because we can speak, we need words. Thus, success and failure. So when you think of success, it has a whole feeling behind it. When you think of failure, it has a whole feeling behind it. So when you memorize the principles, you recognize that there is only success. Successfully the day started and ended to start again. So what does that mean for you? It shows you that you too are also successful. You do not have to hope for success. You do not have to wish for success. You see, but you and I have a perception of what we think success is. But man, what's good for the goose isn't always good for the gander. Because I think success means this does not mean that you think success means that. But you see, we get caught up in looking at the other person and we think that their success is what our success should look like. Thereby, we create agitation within ourselves. You look at yourself. You do not compare yourself to another. Especially when you're talking about, yeah, but they're so much better than me. How do you know that they are? You don't. It's not your business. Oh, but they're so much better than me. You are just judging based on a perception. But remember what judgment does. Judgment blinds the eye and deafens the ear, so that when you get so busy comparing yourself, you are fighting it. Look at you. Yeah, but they're better than me. That's why they get chosen, because they're better than me. That's why I can't. I see what you're doing to yourself? Mental torment. You think it's happening somewhere else? It's happening inside your mind. You are aware of this comparison, and thus you're living by it. But if you catch yourself and you begin to compare yourself to another, you say, hey, whoa, wait a minute. Judgment blinds the eye. What do I want to see in myself? What does success look like? What would I be doing if I were successfully the man or the woman I wanted to be? What would I be doing? And then you answer that question, what would I be doing? Ah, now you're not fighting against the old, but you're building the new. What are you building? A new neurological pathway of how to be. That is what you are building. So, my beautiful friends, you do not have to fight to change. You recognize where you are and what you are presently doing. And then you make a choice. What would I like to be instead? Who do I want to become instead? And when you acknowledge who and what you want to become, you do it every time. Every time. You can set aside a specific time of day to do it, to remind yourself and feel it. Because when you acknowledge who you want to become, your body responds. Just like when you say, I love you, your body responds. Just like if you say, I hate you, your body responds. The body always responds because you must know. So when you feel the body respond, and you say, ooh, but I don't want it to respond that way. I want it to respond this way. So you catch it. Remember the baby. Catch it. And redirect yourself. Oh, but Angela, that's so hard. What do you mean I gotta catch every thought? Do you know how to make catching every thought easier? By selecting the mood. Why? Because thoughts follow the mood. So if you don't want to have those kinds of thoughts, well then determine the type of mood you want to be in and rehearse that. Just put yourself in the mood. And when you put yourself in the mood, your body responds. Why does your body respond? Because it confirms. So if you put yourself in the mood, any mood, and your body doesn't respond the way you want it, you say, well, that's not the mood I want to be in. And you go back and you get the mood again. You get the new mood, the new mental attitude, and you put yourself in that. And your body says, yes, girl, this is the mood we want to be in. Your body responds and you say, good. So here's what we're going to do. Every day at this time, we're going to get into the mood. That's what we're going to do. Every single day at this time, we're going to get into that mood. How long you want to hold that mood for? 2 minutes. You get into the mood and you just revel in the mood for 2 minutes. You're like, how my chickens sunbathe. They lay in the sun and they spread their wings, tilt their bodies, and just bask in it. So that's what it takes for us. When you say, I want to be in this mood. Because as you know, they tell us how many thoughts do we have? How many thousands of thoughts do we have in a day? Oh my God. To catch every one, girl, you're going to need a bigger net. So the net to use is the mood. Get into the mood, the mental attitude that represents who and what you want to be. And the more you practice, every day at that particular time, you put yourself in the mood, same time, same length of time, same thing. What are you doing? You're forming a new habit. Because if you look back, see the old one? You do it the same way every single time. You know how you got there? You practiced being in that mood. Listen, if you practice, they tell you gratitude is the attitude without telling you why. Because when you practice gratitude, like sincere gratitude, because we don't fake the way we feel. Don't do that. Because I know we hear fake it till you make it. No, you don't have to fake it. If you get into the mood, your body responds and releases the chemicals in there that tell you, oh, we feel this way. I feel for you. When you feel your body, you are now aware of what you feel and they correspond. If you say, but I don't feel this, I feel the opposite. Well, then, the mental attitude on the inside is the true way that you're feeling. And you're trying to force yourself on the outside to feel something different. We don't force things. If you go to the original mood, mental attitude, mindset, then the body will respond. So you don't have to fight. Man, sometimes we are so committed to that struggle, aren't we? We are so committed to that struggle. And because we are so committed to that struggle, what's the first thing we say because we want to justify it? Well, whom the Lord loves, he chastens. God's teaching me this lesson. No, you've just been doing that habit. That's all it means. You test yourself. Well, how do you test yourself? To see, can you put yourself in the mood? Can you sustain that mood for a minute or two? 3 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes? Ow. You listen, every time you practice holding the mood, how do you hold the mood? By basking in the way it makes you feel. That's how you hold the mood. That's how you practice it. By being that chicken in the sun and just letting it warm you and just laying there in the warmth of it. Just feeling it. And then when your timer goes off, you go, I got to go back and do what I'm doing. And you go back and you do what you're doing. Who sent for you, sir? My handsome feller. Listen, at the end, I'll tell you what he did to me yesterday. My word, look, last night. I tell you, nobody can tell me that they don't think, but I digress. So remember, don't fight the mood that you don't want to be in. select the new one that you want to have. And when you select it, it's going to make you feel a particular way in your body. Because you have to confirm, oh, yeah, that's the mood I want to be in. Just like when you've been craving something and then you finally bite into it, you say, yes, that's the taste I was going for. Always must be what? Confirmation. The corresponding mood and feelings and knowing. Because when that mood is confirmed, now you know. Now you know you're on the right track. So don't fight. Don't struggle. Because that stuff becomes like a python, you know? Yeah, when you fight it, it gets a little tighter. Oh, my word. So don't fight it. Just polarize yourself. Lean in to who you say you want to be. Lean into that and bask in the feeling of it. And just practice it because you're not pretending. Every time you bask in the feeling of who you say you want to become, you form a neurological pathway inside your brain. You're doing something. Every time you rehearse, you are laying down a pathway. Every time. Your muscle memory is what you're doing if you want to get all scientific with it. Because I know Neville Goddard, we call him the world's greatest mystic. But sometimes understanding what he was teaching, he's teaching it to you from the mystical side of things. Because he knew the principles of cause and effect and correspondence. He knew. And so he taught you from that place. But sometimes the reason why some people cannot grasp what he's saying is not because he was wrong. It's because they just don't get it from that angle. So you got to say it in another way. And you know us, we want to have the evidence. So if you can recognize when you are in the mood you don't want to be in, tell yourself, listen, every time you feel that thing creeping up, no, we want to be in this one. And you will naturally do it. And you will remind yourself until that neurological pathway has been set down and you no longer have to remember because you now do. And when you now do, it is how you live. Thereby, you experience all of the things that go along with that neurological pathway. Neville Goddard said it like this. He said, you persist in the feeling of the wish fulfilled until it takes on the tones of reality. That's how he said it. So to say the same thing in a different way, you practice it until it becomes muscle memory. Then you don't have to remember to do it. You just do it because you've done it for so long. It's like driving. I've been driving for well over 20 years. I don't have to get in the car and go, wait, how do I do this again? The minute I say I'm going somewhere, and I'm driving, I have already selected the neurological pathway of driving and all of the things that accompany that neurological pathway. Reading road signs, indicating left and right to where I want to turn. Shoulder checking to see if anybody's in my blind spot. All of those things and actions come up because I have selected driving. So when you select prosperity, what does that neurological pathway look like? It's going to look like what you practiced. for prosperity. So the behavior naturally follows that pathway that you've laid down. And how do you lay down a pathway? How do you make it take on the tones of reality? Persistent practice. Habit. That's it. So you don't ever have to fight. Fight? Oh, no. Mm-mm. Select the mental attitude. And when the feeling is right, it'll tell you, it'll confirm for you. Yep, this is the feeling, this is the thought, this is the mental mood. Which what happens from there? The actions follow. You don't have to figure out what to do. Once you put yourself in the mood, you will do what the mood dictates. So you see, you don't have to fight. Just catch the mood. And the more you practice catching the mood, you'll begin to recognize that things don't bother you anymore because you're not influenced from external things. You're not influenced by wars and rumors of war. Why not? Because you know, as within, so without. Anyhow, who's here with us today? Dark God 646. Hello to you too, dearest. Hello to you. I see you in these YouTube streets. Where's Melly Mel? She has not entered the chat just yet. Liza, dearest, hasn't entered the chat yet either. The better man, Mr. Stafford Jr., hasn't entered the chat yet either. What about Jeff, dearest? Ray of sunshine. I know who you are. I love you. It's good to see you. Twitter is as Twitter is for the replay gang. And today we got, oh, Miss Deborah. Listen, the mighty Gabby made that song just for you, huh? Here's a calypso song that I grew up listening to as a child. And he said, oh, Miss Deborah, give me the sugar. Because he was singing about the price of sugar, huh? He was singing about the price of sugar. Listen, that's where I learned social commentary. That's where I learned that you could influence those people around you by making them feel. And that's why to this day in Barbados, we do not have private beaches. Because he picked up his guitar and he said, that beach is mine. I could bed anytime. That's what he said. And he incited the people of Barbados to rise and refuse private beaches. So much so that the government said, this man only has a guitar and look at how much power he has. So the government banned his music from the radio. And here we are thinking we've got to be these big people to make a change. Nah, you just have to be moved mentally to make a change. He didn't struggle and fight against it and go rioting. Nah, he sang a song and the entire island sang that song and changed everything. That was the law at work, my beautiful friends. See, so we got Miss Deborah in the house on fan base, and we got Ray Ray in the house on fan base too. And you all know little bits and little bits. Oh, there it is. Oh, it reconnected? Did it? I think it did. I think it reconnected. YouTube, let me know if you can still hear me. Because it says reconnecting. But anyhow, little bit last night, I was brushing my teeth. and I just finished, getting ready for bed. Evening ablutions. And I hear this slight sound. If my thoughts were somewhere else, I would have missed that sound. I heard this sound, so I opened the bathroom door. It wasn't closed all the way. So I just opened the bathroom door and I see Lil Bit. Lil Bit was in his room. Normally when he hops, you can hear it. Nah. But this raptor was slick with it, with his gangster lean. And I tell you, if I was somewhere else mentally, I would have missed that movement. When I looked down at him, he was as big as day, and that's telling you something, because when their feathers are ruffled, he's ready to fight. Now, why was he ready to fight me? Lady was on the stairs, and I roused her. I said, "Go to bed. You can't sleep on the stairs." I said, "Go get in your bed." And she started to fuss with me, right? And that's what brought Lil Bit out of that room for me. He said, "That's my girl. You messing with my girl." He goes, "You messing with my girl." And let me tell you something. I don't want to say he had me trapped in the bathroom. I was just afraid to go out into the hallway, because for the fact that he only has that one good working leg, he is very quick. He's quick and his beak is sharp. I don't like that. And so I'm looking at him and he's looking at me and his feathers are puffed up. And I said, I didn't do anything to the lady. I was sending her to bed. Oh, and he started to talk to me. Bark, 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 bark. And I said, "Oh, don't you get all sassy with me, sir." So I said, "Noah, can you come?" Noah comes up the stairs and he tosses me that soft pink blanket. Listen, Little Bit hates that blanket because he knows what it means. He means I'm about to snatch him up. That's what it means. So I jumped out of the bathroom and he hopped around to face me. And I had the blanket in front of him, so he pecked at the blanket and he was holding on to the blanket. Because he's mad, because he thinks I'm trying to do something to the lady. So I finally catch him, just snatched him up in one fell swoop. I said, "Hey, relax yourself." So I take him back to bed. I put him back in his bed. You know how you shake crumbs sometimes out of the blanket? I put him into bed and I open up the blanket so I can shake his wings out. Because you pin him in the blanket. He's not hurt. And he turned around and he started to crow. I said, "Hey, it is 11:30 at night. Ain't no need for all of that." And so now finally Lady's in there and he calms down. But nobody can tell me that they don't think. Oh, they think. They understand, you know? And so, like, if I was somewhere else in thought, I would have missed him at that door. And he would have scared me. But nah. Because, like I said, when he's hopping around, you can hear it because it's like a peg leg captain, right? And so that's what it sounds like all the time when he's hopping around. But this Roo did not make a sound except for the small wrestle that I heard, and it was real quiet. Oh yeah, he's a raptor, all right. That's okay. I still kissed him. I still kissed him. I showed him who's who in this house. And you got to remember, him and I used to cuddle all the time, but his role has changed. So he has to change. He's like, "You are my lady. You are." That's what he sings about Lady, right? Anywho, It's always a fun day for Chicken Chronicles. But that's my failure. That's my failure. It really is. And now that he's got this girl to protect, or he thinks he's got to protect her, that's just what he does. It's just what he does. Right? So that's where she is. She's back out there on the stairs again. So he didn't stay in his room. I know he's in the doorway. I know it because wherever she is, that's where he is. Anywho, enough about Chicken Chronicles. You know I'll see y'all on Monday, right here on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, fan base. 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. Oh, yes. Where we will practice. You going out here in these streets for this weekend? Practice. What you gonna practice? Putting yourself in the mood and observing how you respond to that mood. Because when you put yourself in that mood, you will respond. Bask in the response of that mood. Because as you bask in the response of that mood that you are now in, you are literally setting down a neurological pathway so that what? The man or the woman you want to become takes on the tones of reality. Oh, yes. I love you. And I'll see you Monday. Remember, drop me a line, positivelyangela.com. Okay? I know we're not in the habit of knowing that it's there. So I got to remind you until you go, oh, snap, positivelyangela.com. That's where I'm going to go. I'm going to send her a note. I might need a little bit of coaching, Angela. Click on the link. Mondays. Select your time. Holler at your girl. Send me a note. You want a topic covered that you want to understand through the principles? positivelyangela.com. You want to order your oracle cards? positivelyangela.com. And these are no ordinary. This is no ordinary love. No ordinary. You know what? Me, Sade. Right? They're no ordinary oracle cards. They teach you the principles. All day, every day. positivelyangela.com. And you know I love you. And I will see you Monday. Countdown initiated. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Much love to each and every one of you. Okay, friend. You're on time, baby. You're on time. You know I love you. Mwah.